All right, here's our update. Total confirmed cases worldwide now, 2,400,000, up from almost 2.2 on Friday. The deaths are up about 20,000 globally. The U.S. now has 746,000 cases. That's up from 687 on Friday. And we are up about 6,000 in deaths to 40,766. We currently have 13,400 people in serious or critical condition. We are now 13th in fatality rate per 1 million people. We are behind the Netherlands and Sweden and Ireland and Spain and Italy and UK, places with socialized medicine. At least states now in the U.S. are using Chinese-made aerial drones following our social distancing regulations. Stu, this is what I think the problem is. It's not just about opening up the restaurant. It's about that we have 20 states using Chinese drones to monitor us.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that essential activity has been defined in such strange ways. Like, what don't we start with, I don't know, our constitutionally guaranteed rights? Wouldn't that be a good place to start when you're talking about essential activities? And yet we're banning gun sales, we're banning church services, we're banning protests, we're banning all the things that are included in our constitutionally guaranteed rights and leaving other things bizarrely open. Like, you know, Florida opened up their beaches this weekend, which I think a lot of people were very appreciative of. However, they were only open for things like surfing, which like surfing activity because it's exercise, I guess, but relaxing at the beach and reading a book is not essential. So that would be banned by the way that they've opened this.
That's insane.
That is, I think, the issue. This stuff to people. I think people, generally speaking, have done a really good job trying to, honor these things and make sure that they don't spread this virus. And they've been incredibly restrained.
Nobody has a death wish. Nobody wants to get sick. Nobody wants everybody else to die. They just don't like it that they are being told exactly what to do. And now, when you have a Chinese tech company that is tied directly to the Communist Party, has CCP board members on the board of directors, and we're buying drones from them for our police department. And the police department is flying these over the heads of people saying, hey, you got to go home. No, I don't think so. I don't think. Let's just see. I'm not supposed to go to church. Even if I'm in a car with my windows rolled up, go to church. That's First Amendment. I'm not supposed to congregate and associate with people in a group. That's First Amendment. I can't associate with people now. Facebook just banned the people that were online that were saying, hey, we want to do a protest in our area. They just banned them because the governors told Facebook to ban them. So that's First Amendment. Can't go buy a gun. That's Second Amendment. I mean, how much more do we need to do?
Yeah, like I'd love to see what the reaction would be by the media if a governor said, you know what, you guys can't go out and cover these protests because it's just too dangerous, can't be outside. Again, same amendment would be being restrained. Say, okay, no, freedom of the press just doesn't apply right now. You guys can't go out and cover things. It's too dangerous. How do you think the press would react to that? Same way as when our First Amendment rights go away for the right to
Look,
assemble?
we're looking at the difference between life and death. You guys cannot be in those buildings. You can't be doing these things. You can't be covering those stories. You can't. It's just life and death. They would go ape.
Yeah.
They would go absolutely ape.
And of course, that would be completely a rational reaction. Like many of these places are keeping their employees home, working from home if it's possible. But if they need to be out at a place covering it, they're sending them out there. Is that okay? Is that okay? Because if the governor tried to stop that, it would be the story of the year. Because they would say it was a constitutional violation for a million different reasons. And you know what? They'd be right about that. The same way, I mean, I think you can ask all you want. Like, you can ask people to not go to church on Easter Sunday. And you know what? Every church, at least that I know of in my area, did it online, and they did everything they could to try to make sure that people were safe and healthy and still
would have done it. In fact, my church did it before there was a mandate. My church came out like 2 days before. Remember, I said my church just canceled every. There's no meetings. There's no church. There's nothing. 2 days later, that's when the rest of the country went under. I mean, we're not stupid. We're not stupid.
Right. But on the other side, like my mom goes to a church, which is a small church, and they've been doing services with the cars. Like, you could pull in with your car, and they're doing,
Right.
And that has been completely, there's no risk to it. It's a small gathering of people in the cars. And that has been okay where she's located, I guess. But many states are stopping that. For what reason? For no reason. Just to show that they can control you, that they can push you around. And that is what makes people believe, I think correctly in some ways, that a lot more about control than it is about, people rather than control of the virus. Canceling protests, on Facebook, all of these things feed into that. And there's no reason for it. It should be the opposite. When you want to say, hey, look, we understand if you want to go and you want to have cars, if you think it's that important, absolutely go and do it. Just please stay separate. 99.9% of people are going to honor that because they want to. They want to.
They are so out of touch that it seems as though, to, I think, the average American that likes the Constitution, it seems as though they are taking advantage of this, and they keep upping it, where you're exactly right. If they would just ask and say, hey, look, we talked to all of the church leaders, and we appreciate that, and there are ways. I mean, there's this one church over here that's doing it with cars. We would highly recommend that, but it's each individual. A quarantine is when you quarantine and you isolate the sick people, not the healthy people, the sick people. And that's what they've done. They've quarantined all of the healthy people. And look, I don't have a problem with it per se, because I think it needed to be done. But I do have a problem. Like, for instance, I don't have a problem with the Texas governor and what he's doing, and he seems to be opening things up and moving slowly. Would I like it to go a little faster? Maybe, but I'm not sitting there looking at all of. I'm not being advised by the medical people, and balancing that with the advice that I would get from all the small business people. I know that we're in a very dicey situation. It better happen in the next couple of weeks that we start to go back to work, but not in places like New York. All right, so what are we going to do? I don't have a problem staying at home right now, and I'm not going to go to a restaurant if it opens today, or the movie theater, and it was a packed restaurant or a packed movie theater. I'm not going to the movie theater. I don't like it when they take my choice away. I mean, it's like teenagers. At some point, you have to let them start to make their own choices and fail at the choices, because teenagers like it when authority says you will do this. So you hopefully have raised them enough to only have to put the guardrails around the big stuff. Well, there's no guardrails here. We're just children. Now the city of New York and Bill de Blasio is encouraging people to be rats. And that's the city to do it in. And rat on your neighbor. Send pictures of your neighbor doing something that they shouldn't be doing. My gosh, do you want to talk about the Stasi? Talk about turning neighbor against neighbor. Wow, that's the way to do it. 60% now of PPP cash went to publicly traded companies. Congress authorized $350 billion for the payroll protection program for small businesses. Most of that cash went to chain restaurants and franchises and hotels that are part of publicly traded companies. Franchise locations including some that are technically owned and operated by a larger public qualified as small businesses. Less than 10% now of the PPP loans are to small businesses that employed fewer than 50 employees. Now, here's some good news. It looks like COVID is easily destroyed by UV light. Most coronavirus studies are easily destroyed by exposure to sunlight, including the SARS-CoV-2. UV light cripples the lipid-based membrane, blah, 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 blah. UVC does kill coronavirus. UVC light is completely harmless to humans and our eyes. UVC light bulbs are available in the U.S. I guess if we wanted to open up our business, the best thing we could do is maybe put UVC light bulbs everywhere in our places of business. Oh, by the way, Williams has now come out with a paint. Why aren't we painting all of our hospitals and our schools right now as they're closed? They should all be repainted with the anti-COVID paint. Somehow or another, they've developed a paint that it kills the coronavirus and doesn't allow it to live on the paint surface. Experts are now saying that it's time to close grocery stores. Some experts, union leaders, and small grocery store owners believe it's become too dangerous to let customers browse the aisle. So they're now saying the large food chains need to go dark. Okay, that doesn't sound like a good idea, but whatever. Chinese has now produced news articles in Arabic blaming the U.S. for COVID-19. Things are going to get dicey with China. We have an update on that tomorrow that you really don't want to miss. Also, it looks like we may run out of beer, soda, and other carbonated beverages. The lockdown is our ability to make compressed carbon dioxide. And now it looks like our bubblies are not going to be so bubbly. The overall demand for fuel has dropped over 30% since the pandemic began. That, in turn, has caused ethanol plants to stop producing so much ethanol, which is also used as an additive in many fuel products in the U.S. That is a problem for consumers of fizzy beverages because a significant portion of the country's supply of compressed carbon dioxide, which is used to generate fizz in these beverages, comes as a result of the byproduct of ethanol production. Now I suddenly care about the oil price. And the pandemic has reportedly caused shortages, several items, but apparently people really like frozen pizza. We bought $275 million worth of frozen pizza during the month of March. This is an increase of 92% from the same time period of the previous year. According to Week, the increase in sales of frozen pizza is comparable to the recent rush of toilet paper. As news of coronavirus and impending shutdowns broke, I have to tell you something. I was one of them that bought a bunch of frozen pizzas. Did you, Stu?
Well, I just do that regularly. Was no change in my typical pattern.
Yeah, I never buy frozen pizzas, but boy, I did. That first, when we went in and I first did some shopping, I went in right to the frozen food aisle and I went right to the pizzas and I'm like, we're getting all of those.
Well, it makes sense, right? Like, it's a good food that will stay for a long time if you happen to be in that. Look, the food chain breaks down.
Mom and dad are dead. Mom and dad are dead. You just, if kids, you step over our dead bodies and you just heat this up, and it's called Pizza Pocket. You'll love it.